But the immediate issue is the tax credit. We feel that we must preserve that. Whether it's used or not used, for right now, it must be preserved. And we also believe that in consultation with Carlisle Tower and other financing experts, that we can help the city to develop a funding plan that will close any gap that might exist in the city's ability to fund the renovation of that building for city use, whether it's lease or whether it's direct payment. And I'm going to address that shortly, but as far as some of those options, the mechanism we're proposing is if you would please consider to pass a resolution to participate, City Council, and hopefully the administration would agree to a letter of intent or a similar document for the same purpose, a memorandum of understanding. If you would agree to participate for 60 days only in a working group whose purpose would be to develop an implementation plan for the Carlisle project, I think we can put the issue of the Carlisle building behind us. An implementation plan will tell us minimally 3 things. It'll move the planning space allocation to the next level, a more precise level of conceptual drawings. With that, we would be able to confirm the costs with more definition. And thirdly, we'll know exactly what, if any, gap exists, and we can then show how that gap can be closed without going for more money or requesting more money from the city. I'm only going to pull one example out of the air, just one. I've talked to some of the city council members, explained it, but there are many, because that building has 2 fundamental requirements that make it a candidate for grants and significant donations. Number 1, it is architecturally and historically significant. It is, in fact, a landmark. And number 2, it would be used for public use, public benefit. Those are the 2 magic requirements for going after national, regional, and local sources of funding. Because of its historic nature, the owners can issue a facade easement on the envelope of the entire building, both the front and rear facade and the roof. And pulling a number out of the air, let's say that's $400,000.
You have 1 minute left, Mr. Conway.
Okay. We can close that easily with $200,000 from this community. We've talked to some local business owners lately, and they will support this, and we can match that with, for instance, the Kresge Grant Fund. Many opportunities. So, to close, we can work together if you would pass this resolution, which I believe, I hope, Mr. President, that you have been given a draft copy. And then we can all work together to get this levy passed. We will make up posters and do a float and do everything we can. But whether it passes or not, if this working group is established, I believe that we will successfully resolve the Carlisle issue for the benefit of the entire community. 60 days is all we need. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Gail Taylor. I live at 253 Vine Street in one of Chillicothe's historic areas. I'd like to speak about the proposed resolution concerning the Carlisle building that's being brought before council and ask council to please approve this resolution. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. In that capacity, and as an interested citizen and active volunteer, I've followed discussions about the building closely. Tonight, however, I'm speaking as an individual since the rules of the League would not allow it to take a position on this matter within the available time. I've only lived in Chillicothe for a little over 2 years, since 2007. In some ways, that may make me seem too new to address matters of city policy. On the other hand, sometimes relative newcomers can bring a different perspective to things, and I hope that I can make a contribution in that regard. When my husband's work brought us to Chillicothe more than 2 years ago, we explored various possibilities for places to live. In particular, I was tempted to live north of the city so I might more easily commute to Columbus if need be. But we were both taken with Chillicothe. The hills, what seems to me like a special spirit of the place, the fascinating rich history, and the truly wonderful buildings. In the light of what seems like an impasse over one of the most impressive buildings, I've come to think that perhaps people who've lived here for many years or all their lives may take these things for granted. When I first came to Chillicothe, I had reason to believe the opposite. The Hyatt Palma study pointing to the restoration of the Carlisle as a key catalyst for the revitalization of downtown, and in turn to the downtown as a vital catalyst for the region, had just been completed. As I understood this study, it was spearheaded by a broad public and private coalition. I had every reason to think that the leadership that brought that study into being would follow through with an orderly, energetic, and cooperative process of bringing its recommendations to reality. Now more than 2 years have passed, and while I've witnessed a number of really impressive efforts to rally the city to a creative solution, including broad-based participation in the League's information programs on possible city or court use of the building, it's hard to maintain a sense of optimism. Yes, the city has placed a proposed levy on the ballot, but honest analysis suggests that the possibilities of success for such a levy may be slim. I've heard a great deal of evidence that a number of financing options are available that could support the renovation of the Carlisle and possibly the Housen building as a magnificently impressive home for Chillicothe's city government, the municipal court, or both. In a city of such historic richness and a place where historic identity seems so important to economic vitality and civic pride, it's hard to imagine a more appropriate home for municipal government. As I understand it, more than 2 years on, time is running out on this matter. One that, by the way, I think will prove to be a defining issue in future appraisals of today's leadership. If the city does not make some formal move to come to the table and engage in active, constructive planning for this building, the opportunity for a state tax credit, probably necessary to make the restoration of the building possible, will run out. As I read the resolution that's being proposed to City Council, its approval would commit the city to nothing irrevocable. What the resolution would do would be to keep the door from slamming shut, and this perhaps irrevocably, on the possibilities for an undertaking that would bring statewide and maybe even national recognition to the city, an undertaking that would be a source of pride for Chillicothians for generations to come. Please pass the resolution and come to the table. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is William Barnhart, 373 McKellar. And on Monday, September the 28th, I would like to know why Councilman Trussell left a council meeting that was still in session and followed me out and confronted me on Paint Street. You have anything to say?
True.
Why?
I asked you to attend meetings that we have.
And why did you ask me where I worked? What was the
Well, you asked me
relevance in
where I
that?
worked.
Huh?
Yeah, Mr. Barnett, if you want to carry on a conversation with
Okay.
Mr. Truck, you take care of that on after.
The next
meeting.
one will be to Council President Schultz. Is this how you want the people of Chillicothe to proceed, how council is run? If I come up and voice my opinion, do I have to look over my shoulder to see if a council member is following me out to front me out on Paint Street?
No, that's not normal.
I've seen you reprimand people in the audience. Did you reprimand Councilman Trussell for following me out?
No, I didn't, but I discussed it with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to look over my shoulder every time I come up here and leave council meeting.
Okay.